Good morning, art students. I am in my backyard area right now, and it is about 10 a.m. The sun is shining, so I'm going to teach you and demonstrate for you a little bit about plein air drawing. Plein air in French translates to in the open air, so being outside. And Monet and the impressionist painters of the late 1800s, they really changed a lot about the art world when they started to go outside from their studios and really study how the light at different time of day affects how they're painting and what they're drawing. So I'm going to show you some mostly drawing techniques because not everyone has paints and other colored materials, but I will also demonstrate a little bit with paints and other materials how you might go about it. Really, when you go out, all you need is either your sketch pad, your pencil, and what you're going to use for your materials. If you have a drawing board or something like this, that's great, but you just need a hard surface to write on. You can get a blanket, make a nice cozy spot for yourself. If you can't get outside or you don't have anything that you want to draw outside, you can also work right from inside. You can draw a plant or look out your window and draw what you see. It's really about trying to draw nature. This is called a viewfinder, and you can use it. It's basically like if you're taking a picture with an iPhone or a camera, you're finding your view before you take the photo. So this is for artists that aren't working from a photo, and basically it's just two L-shaped cardstock I had that I cut out, but you can use cardboard from a box of cereal or something like that. And you cut out two L shapes, and then if you can tape them together, you have a square, and that's going to help you find a view that you want to draw. You can also take a picture of what you're going to draw. That's also finding a view. So I'm going to be drawing in marker again, just so for the purposes of seeing the video. It's really hard to see with pencil. Hopefully the other shaky videos I did, you'll be able to see a little more of the pencil work. But just remember that you do want to start with pencil, and you're going to be drawing very lightly. So let's get started. So you'll notice here I'm just drawing the simple shapes I see, blocking in the bigger shapes of the tree, showing the horizon line in the background where the ground starts and where you see the houses, then adding more details of the branches, little things I see on the ground, but keeping it very simple and really just drawing those shapes I see and really looking back and forth from my paper to the view. Not everyone has artist chalk or crayons at home, but if you do, these are good materials to start experimenting with the darks and lights of your scene. So on this tree where it's darker, I'm pressing harder with my chalk or crayon, and where it's lighter, I'm pressing up lighter. I also wrapped a little piece of paper towel around my fingers so I could start what's called blending the darks and lights together. So on that tree, I rubbed it around and spread out the color, and that really helps show the dark parts and the light parts of my tree. And you can try that in your scene as well. An artist trick you can use while you're drawing is to squint your eyes. It will better help you see the shapes. After you got the basic shapes, you can add some unique details and just experiment. That's what being an artist is all about. So now I'll demonstrate a little experimentation with watercolors. They're called tempera cakes, so they're just like the paints we had at school. Dip your brush in, swirl it in the water, and you can start painting. And I'm going out just like the impressionists, just starting, kind of going fast and trying to get the feeling of the scene. So I'm paying attention to the light and what parts are dark and light, but also what kind of feeling or story do I want to tell through my artwork. The impressionists were really into ordinary subject matter, so like a tree or a person or a scene. And there was the emphasis on light, so paying attention to the way the sunlight changed the look of things. And visible brush strokes, so really kind of being loose with your paintbrush, and just like when we were drawing, giving that overall feel, blocking in the big parts of your scene. And my picture and my scene here, the shadows of this tree I find are very interesting, so that'll be fun to work with. And a few tricks you can use with watercolors if you have them. You can double load your brush, which means putting 2 different colors on each side of the brush. That works really good for leaves and things like that. You can also wet your paper first and then let the color kind of spread into your paper. So do some experimentation, but really pay attention to the light of the scene, where it's darker, where it's lighter with your colors, and what kind of feeling your painting will give off to the viewer. But when you're finished with one, whether you work on it for a long time or not, I want you all to start signing your work. So most artists sign their work at the bottom. I always do mine in the lower right-hand corner. So this isn't finished yet, and I usually like to wait till I'm totally finished to sign my name. But just to show you, most artists, you'll find their signature, their name, in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'd like you to start doing that on your drawings and paintings and artwork when you're done. Some people like to write the date. I like to write my date on the back. So today's May 6, 2020. And that way, when you find your art years later, it will be cool to remember what you did and when you did it. Now that I'm at the cemetery, I'm going to use my viewfinder to find a new view. I'm thinking something around here. So I don't know how well you can see this right now, but I'm going to try. Now in the clouds, you'll notice some are light and some are dark. So I can start showing that with my pencil, how some of the bottoms of these clouds are dark. You're going to want to leave the lightest parts that you see in your picture white. So we've talked about only leaving white spaces for things that are supposed to be white and filling our pages. This is a sketch, so again, I'm not doing every little detail now. I'm just getting the overall shapes of what I see. We're just getting the feeling like an impressionist. So the impression, when I drew this tree, that's the tree you see there with no leaves. So I'm just doing some quick lines for what I see in that tree. Real quick, getting the feel for it. I'm drawing quickly, not taking too much time on any one thing. So I'm going to continue. Now I can really go back and get into more of the shapes of the clouds I see. The funny thing is clouds move pretty quickly, and that's what the Impressionists did. They drew what they saw, and even as it changed, which it does so easily in nature. So I was just looking at one cloud way up in the sky, and I got a really interesting shape. Before I was just blocking in where I saw clouds. Now I'm going to go back and really get those shapes. Now you can see me draw the rest of this sketch in fast forward motion. Here's another drawing I did at the cemetery, and I worked on it for a while. Still working on all these sketches. So I had a really relaxing time doing this, and I hope you all do too. Enjoy the open air, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week.